Hey, welcome to Wednesday. I'm Tom Carnell. This is Carnell Knowledge. I'm just going to do a show today. It's a cold day here in Bellingham, Washington. It's down in the 20s, and that kind of sucks. But we're inside. It's warm in here. The dogs are over there sleeping. So we're going to do this. As an introduction, I was a buyer for Tower Records and a bunch of record stores for about 20 years. I was a publisher and a journalist for Fangoria and a bunch of other places. And now I'm an author, and you can go to the Amazon and see all my books there and hopefully buy them. Remember to check the description of this video here. I have a bunch of links there. Links to the trailers of all the movies, links to the Amazon pages for all the books, and then YouTube playlist links for all the records, so you can just hop over there and listen to them if some of them piques your interest. We are going to begin, as always, with movies. I'm going to talk a little bit about a few of those. Let's start in 1961. This film is available on TUBI. It's called Mysterious Island. It's based, and I'm going to say loosely based, on a Jules Verne book. It was directed by Cy Enfield, who directed things like Hell Drivers and The Immortal Zulu. If you've ever seen Zulu, it's a great movie. Starred Michael Craig, Joan Greenwood, Michael Callahan, and Herbert Lom as Captain Nemo. The synopsis is as follows. During the Civil War, a group of Union soldiers, a Confederate and a civilian, escape the stockade using a hot air balloon and end up on a strange Pacific island. Yes, it's based on a Jules Verne book, but it owes a lot to H.G. Wells' Food of the Gods. The film is notable not only for the cool visuals that it has, but the film score was done by the great Bernard Herrmann. It's a fun, I remember seeing this on TV when I was a kid and just loving it. Giant crabs, giant dodo birds, and giant bees and all sorts of stuff. Great fun, very cool. I grew up loving 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I loved Captain Nemo, and seeing him there and being portrayed by Herbert Lom was very, very cool when I was a kid. The studio themselves wanted James Mason to play Nemo, to reprise the role he did in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But James Mason said no. It was greenlit due to the success of Disney's Swiss Family Robinson, and they thought that High Adventure sold. And yeah, great stuff. Again, available on Tubi. Well worth checking out. Safe for the kids. What's not to like? Second film, 1981. This is also available on Tubi. By the title Ms. 45. It's an Abel Ferrara film. Ferrara did things like King of New York, The Great King of New York with Christopher Walken, and Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. It stars Zoe Lund, someone named Bogey, and Albert Sinkus. The synopsis goes, after being attacked and raped twice in one day, a timid mute seamstress goes insane, takes to the streets of New York City after dark, and randomly shoots men with a .45 caliber pistol. It's gritty, a gritty film. It's mean-spirited in kind of a good way. It's been described by Death Wish as Death Wish meets Repulsion, and I think that's a pretty fair assessment. It's famous for the scene of her dressed at a costume party, dressed as a nun, pulling a gun out and shooting people. The main actress, Zoe Lund, was 17 years old when she was doing this filming, and that's something, considering that the assault scenes are pretty brutal. So trigger warning on that stuff. The character also is completely mute. She doesn't say anything through the whole film. I think at one point she says the word sister, but this is a classic of exploitation and of grindhouse cinema. You'll see a lot of references to this film in other things, a lot of industrial music, we'll reference it. You'll see that image of her kissing the bullets one at a time as she loads the gun. That's gets used a lot. It's a good film. It's a little rough around the edges, but again, it's early 80s. It's Abel Ferrara. It's shot on the streets of New York, but it is totally worth seeing. After that, let's see. Also on TUBI. I should get a sponsorship from TUBI. From 2023, this is a film directed and written by Evan Marlowe. It's called Abruptio. Stars in voiceover roles. It stars James Marsters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Christopher McDonald, who played Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. Jordan Peterson is in this movie. Robert Englund is in this movie. And in his last released film, Sid Haig is in this movie. I'll tell you right now, it's a puppet movie. It's people, but they all have puppet heads on, and none of them they're not particularly lifelike, and it takes a minute for you to adjust your head, but to get used to this. The synopsis is as follows. Les Hackle is a guy down on his luck who wakes to find an explosive device has been planted in his neck. Not really a fair thing. It's a lot more going on than just that. That'll get you started. It's creepy. It's disturbing. It's well made, but it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. The script is a little raw, and the mechanics of the puppets are a little rough, like I say, rough around the edges. But it packs a punch. I'll say that. It reminded me a little of an obscure 1989 film directed by Henri Janou called Marquis that had puppets as well. It's famous for the main character while he's in prison. His penis talks to him, and a little face and everything. It's very weird and odd, but I do recommend Marquis. I do recommend Abruptio. Just go in knowing that it's going to be, again, unlike, you're not going to be able to easily draw allusions to other pieces of work that it reminds you of. It's kind of its own thing. Let's see. Up next, from 2008, another film available on TUBI, Chocolate. The great Prachapinku, the director, he did things like The Protector. He did Ong Bak Muay Thai Warrior. He did Born to Defense. It stars Jiya Yanin, Hiroshi Abe, Pongpat Wachapurabongchong. I'm butchering that. I apologize. It has to do with an autistic girl who learns martial arts via watching TV. And her mother runs afoul of her boyfriend, who's kind of a mobster. And the little girl, who's now grown into a teenager, sets about trying to right some wrongs. It's great. It has some great martial arts in it. Very effective, very real feeling. You really feel the punches and the kicks as you watch it. Jiya Yanin studied ballet as a kid, took Taekwondo at 11, was a black belt by 13, started coaching by 14, and was national champion by 15. So she knows what she's doing. She performed all of her own stunts. So much so that some of the actors were injured and hospitalized during making this film. It's great, but it's not a film that a lot of people talk about. They'll talk about Ong Bak, they'll talk about Man from Nowhere, they'll talk about a few other things, but for some reason Chocolate never comes up. And it's a great film. It's a solid story. The martial arts are top drawer. Sadly, Jiya Yanin's career hasn't lived up to the potential that she exhibited in this film. Some of them have been okay. The martial arts, she's always a good martial arts. The choreography is always great. But this thing really, I hold in extremely high regard. So check that out. You're going to love it. And then finally, 1960. This is also, go fig, available on TUBI. It's called City of the Dead. Not the Lucio Fulci film, but City of the Dead, aka Horror Hotel. It's directed by John Llewellyn Moxey, who did a ton of British TV. It was written by Milton Subotsky, who wrote things like Tales from the Crypt, both Doctor Who pictures, and it was also co-written by George Bast, who wrote Night of the Eagle. If you've ever seen Night of the Eagle, which is all, I'm sure I'll cover Night of the Eagle at some point. It's a fun little flick. Stars Patricia Jessel, Dennis Lotus, and Christopher Lee. Has to do with a young college student who arrives in a sleepy Massachusetts town to research witchcraft, and during her stay at an eerie inn, she discovers a startling secret about the town and its inhabitants: witches. Originally, this was written as a TV plot for Boris Karloff, with Boris Karloff in mind. A lot of the look of the film feels like the early black and white episodes of Dark Shadows. It's the very first Amicus film. Amicus went on to release all sorts of stuff. They're mostly known for what is called a portmanteau film, or Tales from the Crypt is a portmanteau film. The idea that there's a framework around which different stories are told. Again, shot in beautiful black and white. It's moody and creepy. It's a satanic panic film long before that was ever a thing. It's a little tame by today's standards. It's ripe for a remake. Has been knocked off a couple of times since its release. But yeah, it's on Tubi. It's great. It's well worth seeing, and I do recommend it. Moving on to books. The first book is going to be a little hard to find. It's edited by Henry Mazzeo. It's called Hauntings, Tales of the Supernatural. It's a short story collection. It's illustrated by Edward Gorey. Features stories by August Derleth, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert Bloch, Manly Wade Wellman, Arthur Conan Doyle, M.R. James, William Hope Hodgson, and H. Russell Wakefield. Most of these stories are in the public domain now, so you can kind of get them elsewhere. But this is a really nice collection, not only for the stories but also for the artwork. I picked this up at the Tacoma Book Exchange, and I think I paid $8 for it. It's a first edition, and you can get them on YouTube or on Amazon, and you're going to probably pay a little more than $8. But it's good stuff. Good stuff. Up next, 1929. This is a book that I've talked about before. This is Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest. This is a book that helped define crime novels and the hard-boiled subgenre. It's the classic guy comes into town and plays two warring gangs against one another for his benefit. It inspired a host of films, everything from Yojimbo to A Fistful of Dollars to Miller's Crossing, Last Man Standing, and of all things, Brick. The writing style is fun. It's a little, like I say, it's hard-boiled. It's they take some liberties with plausibility, but again, it's 1929. You got to give it a pass to help sand off the edges. I quite enjoyed it. I haven't read a lot of Dashiell Hammett. I plan to change all that, but this was a great introduction. And if you haven't as well, this might be a good entry point for you. After that, this is a book from 2000 by Thomas Lynch called Bodies in Motion and at Rest. Lynch is a poet and a funeral director, like I am, I was. Has to do with articles and poems and descriptions of grief and of loss and of death. It's kind of similar to Jessica Mitford's famous and / infamous The American Way of Death, but this is more poetic. It more has an eye towards prose than it does pulling the curtain aside and talking about that. I bought it. I was doing a story about cremation, and I wanted to get some factual stuff. I'm still good friends with my dean of students at the mortuary college I attended, and it was a book that he suggested, and so I picked it up and I read it, and it's great. If anything of what I've just said sparks an interest in you, I suggest Thomas Lynch's book. There's also a great collection of prose. I forget the author's name, but it's called In the Midst of Winter. And that's a great book about loss and about love and about, it gets a little heartfelt and a little, it'll make you well up in points. But either of those books, I do highly recommend. Let's see. 1959. This is a book everyone's heard of, or they've seen the movies it was based on. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. Just recently, it was being offered up on Kindle for like $1 or $2. And I realized I hadn't read it, so I bought it and read it, and it's a classic. It's different than the films, especially the Jan de Bont one, which I think the only reason to see that film is because of the house. The set design is absolutely beautiful. Robert Weiss's Haunting from 1961 is a classic. The book is worth seeing. It's a beautiful book and a model for most ghost story books and movies that came after it. So again, after 1959. The cast is great. The script is tight. It jettisons a lot of stuff that wasn't or isn't necessary to the furthering of the story. But it's nice to still spend time in that world. So yeah, you can get it up, like I say, you can get it on Kindle for next to nothing. So what are you waiting for? And then finally, I'm still reading Jack Ketchum's Peaceable Kingdom. Ran into a story recently that I was shocked by, not because of its being graphic, but it was pretty, how do I want to put this? It was pretty lackadaisical about incest, and that surprised me, but it's a quibble, you know. So let's see. I should be done with that soon, and so we'll move on from that, and I'll be able to tell you about something else. Let's go to records. First record from 2024. The band they're from Cardiff. They're called Slowly Rolling Camera, and the album is called Silver Shadow. It's described as jazz and trip hop, like late night music filtering into the room from somewhere outside. That's the vibe I got off of it. Reminded me of things like Cinematic Orchestra, the group called Bonobo, Portishead, Go-Go Penguin, Massive Attack. It's a great record. A lot of Slowly Rolling Camera's records are really terrific. So you can kind of, after you're done with Silver Shadow, you can kind of grab line from there. Like I say, I've enjoyed everything they put out. And if they were to put out a record today, I would buy it immediately, sight unseen. Good stuff. Up next, let's see, 1996. I just recommended this to a friend of mine, and that's why it stuck in my head. But John Klemmer, who's a saxophone player, the album is called MOSAIC, the Best of Volume 1. Klemmer is the guy that is renowned for a certain kind of jazz record. He pretty much started the new age musical spiritual subgenre. He came up playing with people like Les Elgart, Woody Herman, Don Ellis. This is all of his records, but especially MOSAIC. There's another record called Cry that's really terrific. It's perfect to put on late at night and on repeat. It's sexy and it's seductive, and he is a master at that specific vibe. Back in the day, they would have called this a makeout record. Lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. It reminded me of things like Jerry Mulligan, Nightlife, I want to say. Reminded me of some of the Quebec things that I've talked about here before. So yeah, great stuff. MOSAIC, John Klemmer, Ask for It by Name. Up next, from 2015, the band is called Lettuce, like salad, like lettuce. They're a North American funk band from Boston who met at Berkeley. The album is called Crush. It's very, very funky and very, very tight. And this is a great record. It reminded me of things like Motet, Grey Boy All-Stars, the Budo Band, and Snarky Puppy. So if any of those things, as those are sort of tentpoles, you're getting the idea. They're a big band, they're a powerful band, and yeah, big. I'm a big fan, a big fan. They have several albums out. You can also go on YouTube and find a bunch of whole concerts that you can watch, and it's great stuff. A couple of personal sort of touchstones for me, and then we'll wind this up and I'll let you go. The first thing, I was just talking with Scott over at the Prog Corner about Frank Zappa, and he had done a video where he talked about like rated a bunch of his albums, top, I think it was 15 or so, maybe 20. And his number one record was 1975's One Size Fits All. It's Frank's 14th record. I love this record. I heard it at a really important time in my life. I was 15, and man, just good stuff. Johnny Guitar Watson, who Zappa was a huge fan of, is on this record. This is Zappa's bands at his finest. Chester Thompson is on drums, and man, if you've never heard Frank Zappa, listen to Inca Roads off this record, and it'll convince you of his genius. There's so much more to the album other than Inca Roads, but Inca Roads to me is a masterpiece. It's everything Zappa is. It's technically exemplary. It's funny. It does things that they probably shouldn't do, like musically, but it works. Just fantastic. Pajama People is on this. San Bernardino is on this. Andy is on this, and Evelyn, a Modified Dog, it's a great record. What can I say? Ruth Underwood just kills on this record. Great stuff. George Duke is on this. You got to get it. One Size Fits All. Just fantastic. And then we're going to end with 1978. It was the first Pat Metheny group record. It's a self-titled thing. Mark Egan is on this. Lyle Mays is on this. Danny Gottlieb is on this. It's just fantastic. I saw him for the American Garage Tour a couple of years later, but it's a record I have fond memories of. I had just started working in record stores, and someone goes, "Hey, you ever heard the Pat Metheny group?" And I was just naive, and they put it on, and from the first few notes, I was hooked. It's just great. It sounds like I'm dinging it when I say, like, you play this for your mom or your dad and they'd love it too, but they would. It crosses boundaries, it crosses sort of demographics, and it's fantastic. Again, go to the link of this video and you can hear it for yourself. That's going to do it for me for a Wednesday. If any of you have anything you want to talk about, please comment on this video. If you don't want to talk about it publicly, you just want to talk to me behind the scenes, you can email me at tomcarnell@gmail.com. And yeah, that's going to be it. I will be back on Friday, and we'll do this again. So have a good day.